Indianapolis Center, do you have any test operation to restricted area 2508?
Aries 31, roger. Traffic is quite luminous and is exhibiting some non-ballistic motion, over.
Roger, Aries 31. Continue to send at your discretion, over.
Okay, Center. The traffic is approaching head-on, ultra bright, and really moving. They're right by us right now.
There are 1,000 UFO sightings reported around the world every month. 90% of these sightings can be explained, but 10% cannot. Officially and unofficially, the U.S. military has been investigating UFOs since 1947. Their top secret goal is to find out what's behind these unexplained sightings. The Pentagon classifies them as unusual airborne anomalies, but a better term is X-Files. Join us now as Mack Maloney and Commander Cobra explore these unsolved cases, UFO incidents that baffle even the U.S. military. This is Mack Maloney's Military X-Files. And now, here's Mack Maloney.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney. What a show we have for you tonight. But first, let me introduce the members of the posse, or the poussée, as the kids say on the streets of Paris. Girls, get ready. Get your mister, get your big box of Kleenex, big box of wipes, your fan, your easy chair, and that big old squeegee, because the very famous Juan is here.
Hey, baby. Hey, Mac. How's it going? Hello, girls. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and all ships at sea. Welcome to the show.
See, I can breathe now once I do your introduction. That's when the butterflies go away.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Hey, baby.
Hey, baby.
Thought you would want to know that. Okay? Everything good with you?
I was talking to my audience first. Sorry, Mac.
Oh, that's okay. That's what we want. Okay. Everything's okay with you? Did you get that towel laundered yet, or is that still on the to-do list?
It is on the to-do list.
Okay.
It's still hung up with thumbtacks, airing out for like the last 6 months.
Nice.
But
okay.
yeah, it's scheduled to go into the laundry pretty soon.
Okay. Airing out isn't really the problem, though, isn't it? More stain removal?
No. Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, here we go. Oh, no.
It's seen a lot of action this summer.
There you go. Okay. Going up further north in his compound, formerly a bunker up there in the great state of Maine. They know him as Coco on the streets, but we know him as Commander Cobra. CC.
Good evening, Mac. It's as wonderful to join you, and thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
As always, a privilege to join the formation of Beyond the Wing.
Yes. Is that what kind of airplane is that in your background there? Is that an F-35?
That's an F-35.
Wow, okay. I thought you hated that airplane, no?
No, I don't hate it.
I thought you were not a big fan.
I'm very upset. I hate how much it costs, and I hate all the problems that are associated with it, and I hate it took 15 years to field, but it's still a good airplane.
Sounds like you hate it. Okay.
Yeah, it does.
Anyway, okay. Now, let's go up to our national correspondent up in Battle Creek, Michigan, the Battle Creek, what do we call it? The Battle Creek of the Republic?
Battle Creek of the Republic.
That's it. Okay. Switchblade Steve Ward. How you doing, Switchy?
It is great to be here representing the Republic.
Yes. Okay. All right. Whatever that means, sure. Okay. Everything okay up there in Conflicts Land?
Beyond wonderful.
Kellogg Land? Yeah. Good. Good there. Okay. Let's go to...
Did they ever have a major cornflakes explosion or anything like that, where like they had in Boston with the molasses?
Have they ever had?
We gauge it by how loud the snap, crackle, pop is from Battle Creek, and it's you can just barely hear it. If it gets a little bit too loud, it could be like a boiler explosion or something.
Really?
Wow.
And just for the listeners, the molasses didn't explode; it fell off a truck.
Right.
Fell off the cart.
Okay, so I embellished the story, all right?
Okay, wow.
It's the first time for everything, one.
It fell off the truck. That truck must have been huge because it
was a horse-drawn. It was actually a horse-drawn cart.
Yeah, we're going to have to look into that because I believe it was a big tank because like 12 people.
Yeah, it was a big tank. You're right, Mac. It was inside the foundry.
Yeah, people drown. I mean, people actually drown in molasses.
Right.
You can still smell the molasses down there in the north end. Anyway. So let's go to Jocko Johnson, our southern correspondent. There he is, looking relaxed as usual.
Hey, Mac.
Jocko.
How are you? Glad to be here, guys.
Okay.
When he said it fell off the truck where I come from, it's a completely different meaning.
Well, where we
No,
come
it has
from
the same
too.
meaning up the Boston area.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Okay. Also, in saving the best for last, in the studio with us tonight, making another rare appearance, and apparently, I don't know how many times you can make an appearance when it's not rare anymore, but the lovely Lois Lane is here.
Hi, everybody. I was thinking the same thing. It's not rare anymore, is it?
No. Oh, I thought you were thinking about molasses. No. Did you know that there was a great
Lois.
molasses explosion in New York, in Boston?
In Boston? Yes, actually. I read a book to my class every year about it on the anniversary of it.
Wow.
Wow. Catch how relevant Juan is.
Yeah, I'll say. Okay. And
As
also,
always.
up there in Sideways, New York, our favorite good witch, Raven, is with us. Raven, how are you doing?
Hi, my friends. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Looks like a big bun night from here.
Yeah, I thought you guys were worth doing one more bun.
We deserve
for
a
the
bun.
season.
Why?
You deserve one more bun.
What happens during there's a no bun season? Is that it?
Yeah, that's winter hat season.
Oh, winter hats.
I didn't have a winter hat that matched with my sweater, so I couldn't. I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? I can't look stupid on the radio.
No,
Oh, God, no kidding.
even though it is radio.
We have one for that.
Okay. All right.
So I'm keeping score on how color coordinated you are.
After this week,
in case you didn't know.
No bun, no fun.
Exactly.
Okay. So we have quite a few for you tonight. We're going to be talking later on about how in American history, American military history, that the weather has affected some very crucial events. Jack is going to be talking about that. Also, some new information came out, which seems to be more and more proof that Noah's Ark actually did exist, and it's up in a mountain in Turkey somewhere. Coco's going to be telling us about that. Or as someone wrote to us the other day, they look on us as Marconi's wet dream. How about that for high praise?
Who said that?
One of the fans.
One of the fans?
Yeah.
We got some strange fans out there, but we like them all.
Tell me about it there, brother. So anyway.
Well, considering that Marconi sent that first successful signal just down south of where you're broadcasting from, seems somewhat appropriate that we could be his illegitimate offspring.
Whoa, I didn't go that far. Where was it? Down the Cape? Was he down the Cape? Where did Marconi send us
Yep,
first?
it's on the Cape.
Down the
Sure
Cape?
is. It's down. There's a little museum down there. It's actually one of the better things to take in.
Wasn't it Provincetown, was it?
No, it wasn't Provincetown.
All right, okay. You know that has the highest crime rate in all of Massachusetts, Provincetown?
Really?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't
Not
know that.
Lawrence per capita. Jocko is raising his hand. Jocko.
I don't want to talk over stuff. I just wanted to ask you. I'll tell you, actually, Marconi there took the credit for that. But, he was having a lot of problems. He bumped into Tesla somewhere
Oh, really?
at a conference and talked to him about it. Tesla said, "Now, this is what you're doing wrong." And he fixed it. And years later, Tesla or his family or somebody, they sued the government to get the patent for radio.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
And he won the case.
Yes, he did.
They really? Wow.
Marconi, I hate to say, one of my countrymen, he was.
Yep. He was a fraud. Okay.
But,
It fell off the truck, Jocko.
Yeah,
Back up.
exactly,
Just back up. It fell off the truck.
He couldn't help it.
Talk about a little history lesson. Okay, so anyway, we're going to start the show off with a bit, okay, as always. And this one is going out on the edge. This is almost fringe-like. This is the 5 really bad jokes about members of the show. Okay, 5 really bad jokes about members of the show. I asked Lonely Larry if he would be on tonight because one of the jokes involves him, but he's too busy playing pool. So we'll have to go on without him. So, Raven, you have the 5 bad jokes?
I do.
Okay.
Are we ready?
We are ready. Let's go. 5 bad jokes about the members of the cast, members of the gang, the crew. Let's start the music right now. Number 5, please.
Okay. Club, El Ronaldo, and Jocko walk into a bar, but Raven ducked and was unhurt. I think that's funny.
I like it.
Get it? Okay, here we go. Number 4, please. Bad jokes about the crew.
Number 4, Switch and his neighborhood's freeloading dog Mulligan go into a bar. Switch tells the bartender he'll bet him $100 that Mulligan is the smartest dog in the world. As proof, Switch says to Mulligan, "What's on top of a house?" Mulligan goes, "Roof." He asks him, who is best baseball player ever? Mulligan goes, "Roof." But the bartender stops him there and says, "Any dog can do that." He tells Switch to go into the men's room and wait there while he gives Mulligan a task. If the dog completes it, the bartender will give Switch $100. If he fails, Switch has to give the bartender $100. Switch agrees. Once he's gone, the bartender gives Mulligan a $20 bill and tells him to run across the street to the liquor store, buy a bottle of whiskey, and bring it back. Mulligan takes the money, runs out of the door. 20 minutes go by, but Mulligan doesn't return. Finally, Switch comes out of the men's room, pays the bartender $100, and leaves. He finds Mulligan in the alley next door having sex with a poodle. He says to him, "Hey, what happened? We've had this great scam going for years, but you've never done anything like this before." To which Mulligan replies, "Well, I never had $20 before."
Oh, okay, bada boom. Come on.
Whoever wrote that, it was great. I was cracking up.
Okay, well, number 3, please. Bad jokes about the crew.
Talk about high strangeness.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you
He's a pretty smart dog.
Yes.
Did you know that not only is Lonely Larry a proud Polish descent, he's also a well-respected architect and engineer. One day, the Polish president asked to meet with him. He tells Larry he wants to put an end to all Polish jokes forever. And the way to do it is for Larry to build a monument to the Polish people that's so grand and beautiful, no one will ever make a joke about Polish people again. He gives Larry $100 million and tells him to report back when he's done. 6 months later, Lonely Larry reports back. He tells the president that they've built the most magnificent bridge in the world. It's huge, very modern looking, and it's like a work of art. The Polish president is very happy. He asks Larry, "Where is it?" Larry says, "Well, because it's so big, we had to build it in the Sahara Desert." The Polish president goes nuts. He says, "You built a bridge in the desert? You idiot. Now there'll be more Polish jokes than ever. You have to get rid of it. I order you to blow it up immediately." But Lonely Larry says, "I can't." The Polish president asks him why not. And Lonely Larry says, "Because there's 5,000 Italians fishing off it."
Come on, let's go.
Oh.
That got Jocko right in the solar plexus.
Taking that knife out of me.
Okay. All right, please. Number 2? Two.
Yep.
Bad jokes about the crew.
Mack and Wan rent a rowboat and go out fishing. They row around for about an hour with no luck, but then they find a spot where they start catching fish like crazy. Suddenly, Wan takes out a marker and puts an X on the bottom of the boat. Mack says, "What are you doing?" JJ replies, This is such a good place to catch fish. I want to mark the exact spot so we can come back tomorrow." To which Mack says, "You idiot. How do we know we'll get the same boat tomorrow?"
That was good.
Oh, I love these. These are like the perfect amount of cheesy. Oh, I love it.
Everyone but Lois is laughing. Lois says she's smiling. Oh, over her head. Okay. Well, you are short. So, okay, here we go. The number 1 bad joke about members of the crew, please.
Number 1, Coco and Teddy the ballless horse go to Yankee Stadium. Coco tells the Yankees manager that Teddy is a fabulous baseball player and he wants the Yankees to put him on the team. The manager laughs at him and says, "But he's a horse. Horses can't play baseball." Cece tells him, "Just give him a tryout." The manager agrees. Teddy takes a glove in his mouth, goes into the outfield, and incredibly catches every ball hit to him. He then goes to the pitcher's mound and using his mouth to throw, strikes out 10 Yankees in a row. Then he takes a bat in his mouth and hits nothing but home runs on every pitch thrown to him. The manager is astonished. He says, "My God, he can catch, he can pitch, and he can hit. It's amazing. But can he run? To which Coco says, if he could run, we wouldn't be here looking for a f***ing job.
Come on. All right. Can we clap for ourselves and then we go? There you go.
You'd be an aqueduct.
5 bad jokes. Yeah, you'd be an aqueduct. 5 bad jokes about the crew. Okay. Wow. Look at the spikes. Excellent. There, honey buns.
What?
Oh, I'm sorry.
What does the plausometer say?
It's going crazy, believe me.
Is it?
Yeah. So why don't we leave them laughing and take a quick commercial break now, and we'll be right back after this. You're listening to Mack Maloney's Millitrax House Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. The entire gang is here, and we'll be right back.
We've all heard of Area 51, the U.S. government's top secret base in the Nevada desert. But have you ever heard of Area 52 or 53 or 54? 54? How about Tonopah Test Range or the Navy's secret base inside the Bermuda Triangle? Find out about them and more in Mack Maloney's Beyond Area 51, Mysteries of the World's Most Forbidden Places. Did Richard Nixon show Jackie Gleason a crashed alien spaceship near the swamps of Florida? Is it true that more UFOs are seen over a small Scottish village than anywhere else in the world? And is there a secret place in Russia that some people think is heaven on earth? In Mack Maloney's Beyond Area 51, you'll visit more than a dozen top secret places around the globe. The haunted forests of New Jersey, a valley in Colorado where shadows come alive and humans can fly without wings. And where's the only secret base in America that's not been visited by UFOs? You've heard Mac talk all about these places on his radio show. Now you can read all about them yourself. That's Mack Maloney's Beyond Area 51, Mysteries of the World's Most Forbidden Places. Now on sale at Amazon.
Welcome back, everyone, to Mack Maloney's Millitrax House Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney. What a show we have for you tonight. Before I reintroduce the members of the gang, though, we have a special guest in the studio making a very rare appearance. He has a very busy schedule. Pistol Pete.
Yeah,
Pistol Pete Falcone. When's the last time?
No way, really?
Yeah. He's here. Yep.
I was on cleanup duty today. So thank you.
Yay.
Thanks.
That was a spontaneous round of applause there. Pistol
Yeah, somebody had to empty the wastebasket. So
oh, really?
It turned out to be
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
Don't you?
It's my week.
And don't you
Did
have
you
your,
run into Bob yet or what?
isn't Bob doing that? Bob the Ghost?
Bob the Ghost?
No.
Yeah, he's supposed to be, but
Yeah, okay. His little axe
he's been
on the
missing
gun.
since Halloween.
I thought he tripped over the recycled cans bag out back one time.
That's right.
You know,
I thought it was a cat, but there was nobody there.
We should explain that Pistol Pete owns the radio station where we broadcast out of, and he also owns a network of stations, correct?
Well, a handful.
A handful, okay. All right. How many exactly?
There's like 6 or 7 at this
6.
point.
There's more than a
As
handful.
of 5 o'clock today, yes, that was the number.
It's more than a handful unless you're from Mars and have
You just tell
7.
me how many you told the IRS.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, okay, all right.
We have 4.
We
if
understand.
you're from the IRS.
4, 3.5. So, very popular format, Seacoast Oldies, right? Is that your?
That's one of them. That's kind of the main thing because it's in the biggest market.
Okay, all right, and that's the music of the
60s and 70s.
60s and 70s. Yeah, people love that, right?
Oh yeah,
I
very
listen to
cool.
it.
And
I
you
listen
don't
to it all the time. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't get it that often, on commercial radio anymore.
Yeah, right. Yeah, cool. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, totally built for the boomer generation.
Okay, and you have FM station as it's AM and FM, right?
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
What's the Portsmouth FM station? Is that the?
That's Seacoast Oldies.
Okay. Do you have a heavy metal channel or anything like that?
No heavy metal.
How about a comedy channel? Would you be interested?
Be a good one.
Can we pitch that to you, me and one?
No. The only comedy around here is the balance sheet every month.
Oh, wow, there you go. Okay. Okay. Whoa, sorry. So anyway, well,
You spent too much money on K-Cups.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Look at this.
Got to do away with the free
Who's drinking all the
coffee.
coffee?
Oh, is that what those
At
things
some
are?
point, you just have to knock off that Enron School of Management way of running that.
Yeah,
really what it's at.
Yeah.
Now, what we tell people all the time on the show, when we bring it up, is that this radio station is in a house in a neighborhood, right? I mean, if you could drive by easily and not even notice it.
Essentially, I'm going to assume that when this was built, there were no other houses around.
Yeah, that's
it was on a dead end street.
Yep.
And because one of the and somebody a lot more technical than I would understand when I say this was prime property for that, because there's an AM station involved, and the tower for the AM is in the sort of swampy area in the back.
Yes, right. I mean, if you don't see the tower, you'd say, well, this is just another kind of suburban house. But I think that's kind of cool in a way. I mean,
the neighbors like it because then they can get the station on their toaster. And
all right.
Exactly.
Juan, you would know that stuff, the old RF stuff.
I was troubleshooting problems like that in the Portsmouth area, across from the big tower there on Route 1 in Lafayette. And they were getting on their fax machines or fax lines that were being installed for DSL, mind you, they were getting a clear as day audio from the the radio station.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
on their toaster?
You have to file a complaint in order to get it corrected.
Kids in this neighborhood get it on their braces.
Do they really? Wow, that's
good. And then they're like, hey, that's my grandfather's music you're playing.
That's broadcasting.
Right. Yeah, right.
So anyway, and another interesting thing about this place, other than the fact that it has a ghost that we all know about, we've seen, we've, communed with him about.
Yeah.
Is that you have this lounge, not a little lounge in the back, and it looks out over the Exeter Golf Club, right? The Exeter Country Club.
Awesome.
Yes, it does.
I mean, it's probably one of the top places, for professors who golf.
Right. And we get some mood lighting back there.
Mood lighting,
nice.
Yeah. Exeter, we're in Exeter, New Hampshire, which is the home of many things, including Exeter Academy, which is you go there and then you go on to Harvard and Yale and so on and so forth, right?
The previous home of Dan Brown.
Yes.
Great author.
And Abraham Lincoln's son went there.
Did he really?
Yes.
Yeah? Wow.
Yeah.
What was his son's name? Murray or Fred? Or something?
Something like that. Yeah.
A very, very kind of old school, old money place to go.
Yeah,
Exeter Academy. So we're in good company. And then right up the street was where the Exeter incident happened, one of the most famous UFO incidents ever.
That's right.
So, we're in the center of it.
That's what they talk about here in town.
So, Seacoast Oldies, you can get the app, right? We're on the app. How do they get the app?
Yes, your show is available through podcast on our app. Just go to your app store, search Seacoast Oldies, and you'll be able to listen to the station or listen to any of our podcasts.
Okay, cool. Now, Pete's limo is waiting for him outside, and I can tell the driver's getting a little anxious, but I got one more question. I hear that you've recently got a new spokesmodel for the station?
Yes, Ms. Cash. Yeah.
Lola Cash.
Cash, yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
And, we borrowed her from your show.
Okay.
And she's had two great runs through all of our social media and all of that. And she's a staple of the station now.
As it turns out, Lola Cash is right with us. Come here, Lola. Just say something to this microphone.
Hi.
She might sound a lot like Lois Lane, as it turns out.
Yeah, but that was compelling for sure.
Total coincidence. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So one last question, and then I promise I'll let you go. We've talked about this before. You are compelled to play Christmas music 24/7 around Christmas season, right?
Well, a couple cuts an hour. We haven't started yet.
Okay, but at some point, isn't it all Christmas music?
No.
That's good. Okay.
We have one station in Bangor, Maine, that has flipped over to all Christmas music.
Really? Yeah. Okay. All right.
That's the adult contemporary station in that market. But here, we'll sprinkle some in as we go along.
Okay. Can I name the top 5 just off the top of my head?
You go ahead, and I'll tell you with you.
Feliz Navidad.
Oh, heavy rotation.
Little Saint Nick by the Beach Boys.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Most definitely.
Okay.
All I Want for Christmas Is You by Mariah Carey.
Yes, Mariah Carey gets in there.
Carey.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
oh my God.
Sing song.
Yeah, Bruce. Yeah.
Yeah. Lola, Bruce Springsteen?
The Paul McCartney song, Christmas Time.
Yeah. And
hate it.
A couple of Springsteen
I die
tunes.
a little
People
bit
like it. I
inside
hate
when I
it.
hear that song.
Which song?
The Bruce
horrible.
Springsteen song,
How
Santa
about
Claus
Father
is Coming to
Christmas by
Town.
Greg Lake?
Yeah.
Okay. The Bruce
Well, Louis
Springsteen.
Armstrong.
That's my best one.
The Bruce Springsteen song is, what's the title of it?
Well, he does "Merry Christmas, Baby."
Oh, that's
and
right.
He does.
Santa Claus is coming.
He does
Santa Claus is coming to town.
Wow, how can I forget?
And John Mellencamp doing. Wow. It just escaped me now.
Mummy saw Daddy.
Mommy
saw Daddy kissing
Daddy,
Santa Claus.
all over Santa Claus. Yeah.
Wow, it is 2021. So, but I know we've had discussions about this before. Wouldn't counter programming work around Christmas or no? I mean, a radio station that didn't put any Christmas songs on.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, but I would rather sprinkle a few in than to have somebody go, I want a Christmas song and push the button.
Yeah. And they all Christmas. And when do they do that till New Year's? They get all Christmas.
We'll pretty much, let's see, Christmas is on a Saturday this year. We'll probably keep it through Sunday, and then it's put away again.
Okay, so if Juan and I came up with our own Christmas song, okay, who knows what it would
Grandma got run over by a reindeer?
Or by a Challenger, as it turns out, 2016 Challenger.
Yeah.
Would you play the song?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, kind of like
it's about a 3-second hesitation.
Kind of like a Bob and Doug McKenzie type thing. You mean?
Yeah. Just pretend we're not Canadian.
Okay.
All right. Okay. I'm going to hold you to that.
Juan remembers running a reel-to-reel tape of wall-to-wall Christmas music, and I'm running the board, and I'm pretty much doing my homework or doing crossword puzzles. I'm just letting that sucker run and just hope that the tape doesn't run out. Actually, there were multiple tapes.
Cool.
You remember that, Pete, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the worst thing is...
Let it roll. It was recorded from some kind of syndicated program.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But let's throw an industry term out there, Juan.
Satellite programming.
Here's an industry term. The worst thing would be to... put the tape on, let it play, and find out the tape is tails out.
So backwards.
Yeah, in other words, somebody played it all the way through, and rather than rewind it, they just took the full tape off. So then you put it on, and it's the minute you started, it's like... Wow, you
do that so
worse
well.
Than that, it's the play-by-play of a Concord High School football game.
Oh, God,
yeah.
Imagine that. Wow. Okay.
There's the opening billboard. I'm going, what's this?
Tales from Radio. And, we've had you on before, and I know you have to go, but, I mean, you used to play a character who was a traffic reporter in a helicopter, right?
That's correct.
And you felt... And the bit was that you didn't like to fly, correct?
Yeah, the whole bit was that I couldn't look down. I didn't want to look down.
Okay.
And so the whole running thing was, well, how can you tell the traffic if you won't look down?
Right, yes, right. And how'd you answer that? Just DSP?
I just said, I guess.
I guess, okay.
It's the same, traffic's the same every day.
It sure is, man.
Yeah.
And this is around Boston, and so it's really nuts. I guess it's as good as some, good... estimate. But listen, real quick, didn't the guy who flew your helicopter, he was kind of nutty, correct?
Yes, he was right out there. Yeah.
Okay, so he used to land in like McDonald's parking lots going to get food and tell you, just hold this down so we don't take off.
Yeah, that's actually a combination of a couple of stories. But yes, we used to land in an abandoned gas station on Route 1. I believe it was in Dedham, Massachusetts. I would jump out and run over to the McDonald's, and the people were just stunned because there's a helicopter running right next door, blowing stuff all over the parking lot.
Cool, yeah.
And I'm like, 2 Egg McMuffins and 2 coffees to go.
I mean, really go.
And the other one was when we did land somewhere and he had to get out to get something, but wanted to leave the copter running and told me to keep my hand on this stick and don't let it move. And I'm like, well, what happens if it moves? He goes, you'll start going out.
Oh, shit. Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Man, Adventures in Radio. Talk about who should write a book. You should write a book because
you should.
There's a number of them I know we can't tell in the air, too, right? Correct? I mean,
for sure, yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. That's another show, Mac After Dark. Yeah. Thank you, Pistol Pete, for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure.
Let's clap them off.
Thank you, everybody. Great to see
We need
you
more
all.
behind the scenes of
Great to
radio.
hear you all. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Happy holidays to you there, Mr. Falcone.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas, buddy.
Thank you, everybody.
It's okay. His limo driver's beeping the horn. He has to go. Thank you.
Yeah, I got to go. He's
Thank you.
He's got to drop me off, and then he's picking up his buddies to go bowling.
Really?
With the
Yeah.
limo.
Okay. Why do you rent the limo out?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll talk to you about that too. Yeah, why
It's
not?
that balance sheet.
That's right. Hey, I hear you, baby.
Non-traditional income, it's called.
Is that right? Yeah. Is that what the IRS calls it?
Yeah. They call it "Don't do it."
Yeah, don't do it. Right. That's what I've heard too. So
For now, not
thank you,
for
Pistol
now. They
Pete.
get that.
There he goes. Not too often we have a multi-millionaire on the show, but we just have one. Thank you, Pete.
My pleasure.
See you later.
Oh boy.
Wow. Okay, Pistol Pete. He should write a book.
Yeah, he's really offered us unbelievable accommodations there at the station.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yep.
Not overly ostentatious, but very comfortable.
No, it's really a nice place to
Everything
go and do
works.
this. Yeah, everything works.
And has a history to it.
Yep. It's got a ghost. You know.
But Mac, it's funny how stations did populate housing areas where there wasn't really a housing area there before.
Yeah,
and that's the station that I worked in was in the middle of a
it's got to be
area, and you know that when they allowed a tower to be there with a considerable amount of power, you know, a couple thousand watts,
yes,
and how it can affect other things in the area.
Yes, yeah.
You had to have a certain boundary where there was nothing around you.
He wasn't kidding about the
And
kids
all of a
getting
sudden
it.
they said, "Oh, we've got tools to just filter that stuff out and make it not interfere. So let's build houses all over the place."
Before we get to Coco, I know he's chomping at the bit, but something a thought just came to me. Okay, maybe it's this Jenny Ice. I don't know, but he was saying that kids pick up the radio station on their braces.
Big
but
toaster.
I have heard people that have picked up radio sounds on things that aren't radios, right? That's possible.
Yeah. That's very common.
Okay, so
or
listen.
at least there's reports. Lucille Ball being one of the more popular ones that used to talk about in the 70s.
World War II.
Okay, so Switch. How about
hearing aids is a real popular one. You got a hearing aid
that I could understand.
and you go, "Wow,
yep,
I can't hear the TV at all. I hear this."
Well, when you have a electronic device that can be attenuated, that's
perfect.
It doesn't surprise me. But when you have people that have certain cranial structures or the way their dental work is arranged and they're picking up vibrations, it's pretty interesting.
It's crazy.
Hey, Switch, real quick.
Yeah.
Remember you did the story on the guy who heard the voices through his welding machine, through his welding torch? Maybe that's...
when he keyed up his welding torch, he started to hear voices, evil voices plotting very wicked things against mankind.
That was just a supervisor.
Yeah, probably one of Pete's stations. No, but I mean, is that possible? Can someone get radio waves through their, blow torch?
I would think anything would have a electromagnetic coil or whatever. I suppose it would be possible with the right conditions or
Well, I might have cracked that case. Okay.
Did you ever see the Partridge Family episode where
No.
Tracy's braces goofed up their
Gilligan's
whole...
Island.
Oh boy.
If they turned Gilligan upside down, it would turn his head to tune in the right station.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Wow. Okay.
See, so I guess it's real.
How is that show still not on the air? That's just amazing.
I don't know.
How did it
that
ever
kind of
get?
quality writing, that kind of in-depth kind of entertainment?
My favorite episode is when the Harlem Globetrotters visit the island and they have to play Jim Backus and his wife. Absolutely, yeah. Yep.
I do not remember that one.
Anyway, okay, there's a stroll down memory lane.
Well, if they visited the island, why couldn't they get everybody else?
That's the big mystery, man. That's the big mystery. So now, Coco, we're going to go to you because we were talking off air that there's been new, evidence or whatever uncovered that leads to the more of a likelihood that Noah's Ark did exist and is up in a mountain in Turkey somewhere. Everyone knows what Noah's Ark is, right? God came down to him and said, build a big boat, quick, get two of everything, get on the boat and, get ready to sail. And that's what happened. And
15 cubits by 20 cubits. What's a cubit?
Figure that out.
Now you're doing the routine from
right?
a comedy routine.
Bill Cosby.
Here we are talking about, Bill Cosby. Here we are talking about.
You picked the right comedian, man. Anyway, is he still in jail? He got out of jail.
He's out.
Did he? Okay. Anyway, so Cobra, I've heard, over the years that people have discovered, what looks like a boat at the top of a mountain in Turkey, right?
Correct.
Okay. So what's the new? What's the new news?
So as very recently, a U.S. and Turkish team has brought out some scans that they believe shows evidence that there's a man-made object under this area, which has been reported to be the Ark. There's quite a bit of biblical reference as well as scholarly work that points to this particular area. There is a number of cultural links to this area as well that I'll talk about briefly. But in general, what has kind of kicked this all open again is that they have taken some fairly modern capabilities to do ground penetrating radar from a company out of the United States called TOFA 3D to look at what is underneath what is now covered with dirt. Now you have to remember that this has happened a few times in this in the past century. Ours, when we were growing up in the 70s, 80s, there was a number of expeditions, and there were some also hoaxes that were connected with it, bringing back pieces of wood that people claimed they had found, investigating structures that were in like ice and snow that showed stalls that people had tried to pass off as this is the discovery of the Ark, and most of those were turned out to be hoaxes. But this one is interesting, but it leads back to a case in 1959. A Turkish army captain was flying, and he photographed. His name was Ilhan Duranapar, and Duranripnar, which is also the name of the range where the Ark is believed to exist or is resting. Started this in 1959. This recent group brought up ground penetrating radar to do a more in-depth investigation and found a number of things that show up to be at right angles. Also, they confirmed the 150 cubits length, which is about 300 feet or so, to match the recorded biblical kind of dimensions on the length of the ship on that. So there is a lot of excitement on this. People that are listening can look at NOAA Ark scans, and they'll be able to find some interesting renditions of what they had with the ground penetrating radar. And it helps break the dismissal by folks in the past for this a geological formation. It definitely has a boat formation, and the Ararat mountain ranges where it's found, that's in eastern Turkey, matches quickly. Now, a couple personal connections to this. When I went to college, there in good old Boston, I was with a number of Armenian students and Armenian descent that were here in the United States, as well as a couple of professors that were in my major.
Yes.
And many of that community have a cultural connection to the belief that the Ark was in the mountains near where they lived in Armenia. And some even claim to have part of the structures that their families grew up in were disassembled pieces of the Ark. It always seems to return and intersect back at this particular part of the globe. It seems to have a lot of interesting intersections with many cultures in the area.
Yeah.
And the Ark kind of fits. One other interesting piece that I'll bring up, Ranger Rick Risher, one of my close friends, a former naval aviator from the Vietnam era, then went off to work in the Central Intelligence Agency as a helicopter pilot. He, after his time with the agency, opened up a business jet opportunity or capability that was flying with a number of VIPs from the Hollywood area. And he got to know and knew from his time in the Navy, James Irwin. And James Irwin is one of the more famous explorers of Noah's Ark in the late 70s, early 80s.
He's an astronaut.
And he was an astronaut. He was actually, I think, believed like the 8th to get onto the moon. He was the LEM pilot and the first one to drive the rover on the moon.
Yeah, cool.
The story is that he did a lot of research. He was teamed up with Donald McKenzie. McKenzie, a Scotsman who did a lot of investigation as well. But what most people don't know, and I learned from Ranger Rick, is that before he went to the moon, Mr. Irwin wasn't much of a believer in God, but his experience of being on the moon and looking back at the Earth and seeing that view changed his outlook. And he had kind of a conversion to understanding that there was more to the universe than what he had expected.
That would do it.
So I thought that was always an interesting side story. And of course, Ranger Rick is someone we need to have on the show because he flew with Bob Hope and Neil Armstrong. He had him in the back of his jets a number of times. And
Bob Hope.
He has a really cool personal insight to some of the beautiful people, some of the interesting people. And when you meet him and you talk to him, and he was a guest a number of times on other shows, he has a really incredible, he's one of those folks like you talked to Pete tonight.
Yes.
You need to write a book. You need to put it down because he's had a lot of really crazy experiences. But it's interesting, that connection, because he had spoke with him,
yes,
him being James Irwin, and he really felt compelled, and he believed he had found the Ark in the 80s. Now, here's a quick run to Juan Juan. I think Juan Juan.
Go ahead.
I've always had a connection, as I kiddingly have said, I'm going to build a barn the shape of an ark because we keep collecting animals up here.
Get the neighbors nervous.
My name to Noah, and that won't be for tax reasons, but I think it's probably beneficial if I did change my name to Noah. I remember with my dad, who's always been kind of a nut for this kind of stuff. He loves this kind of stuff. He's the reason I got interested in the paranormal and specifically UFOs. We went to the Granada Theater in Malden, and I remember seeing the documentary that came out about the discovery. And of course, Juan could have probably been there. Would obviously have been working the crowd with some young lady back in those days.
Absolutely.
I was a child.
High school.
I was barely. I qualified for the cheap.
Wait a minute, hang on a second.
That's how young I was in those days.
Working the crowd with some young lady. What the fuck does that mean? Does anyone know?
Well, he speaks quite highly. I mean, Juan and I are the only two people in this audience that remember when the Granada Theater had a balcony.
Yep.
Okay.
That looked down on the one screen, and then late in the 70s they filled in that and they put a second screen in, so you had the Theater 1 and Theater 2.
Oh, wow.
But I do remember going to there when it was a balcony and watching the movie from the balcony.
Yeah.
Sometimes you didn't watch the movie.
Working like a...
Hold on. Here's
if you sat at the front row of the balcony, it afforded an opportunity that was even more worthy than what might have been playing, except for A Hard Day's Night, of course.
Yeah,
and that was the view that you saw of the young ladies down below.
Okay, all right. Wow, man. How old were you?
Saying.
5, 6? Did you bring spy glasses with you? Binoculars? Look down?
No, just bare eyes. Better vision than I have now.
I see, I understand. Okay. That's what the porn's for. Jocko is raising his hand. Jocko, please.
I was just going to say I love Juan, man. He kills me. He just
that was it?
He's 4 years old. He's 4 years old chasing these birds around, you know?
Rode his tricycle up there. So just 2 quick questions on Noah's Ark. All right, once again, maybe you covered this, but why don't people just climb up to the top of the mountain and take a sample? The Turkish government won't let people climb the mountain?
Well, it's all covered over, Mac. If folks go to see this latest story, which is connected, the U.S. Sun has a really good feature on it. They have a video connected with it. You'll see that it's covered over. And if you think back to biblical times and the ancient scale of it, you would imagine that it would not be sticking out. A wooden structure wouldn't have survived, unlike the pyramids or something like the Sphinx or something like that, which is made of stone.
Yep.
But this particular resting area where it sits and what they've been able to put together, they're finding now with the current technology that it has indications that there's something underneath it that's not a geological formation.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't reasonably go up there and just grab it.
Yeah.
It's interesting you say that because there are Armenian groups that literally believe that the timbers of their ancient homes come from the Ark. They believe that their ancestors brought this down and made these simple cliffside kind of dwellings.
Cool.
And that's where the materials came from.
So how weird is that?
It's nothing's really exposed that you can get to it. It's not an easily accessible area. This really does require you to have aircraft to find and get to easily.
Also, the Noah's Ark story is in every other major religion's quote unquote Bible too.
Correct.
You know, it's not
exclusive to a Christian faith.
Right.
And that's because the Old Testament really is not a Christian text. The New Testament is a Christian text.
Right,
the Old Testament is what you find in Islam as well as Judaism and other faiths in the Middle East region. The interesting part about that is the Abraham is a recognized figure. Abraham comes after Noah.
Yes.
And he is a figure of the Old Testament that is recognized in both Islam as well as Judaism. And then ultimately to Christianity, because we extend out of the Jewish side of the faith.
Well, they had a lot going on back then. You know, at one point, I think someone said that when not to get into religion, but when Christ was alive, there were 100 million people on the planet. Does that sound right?
That may be a fair estimate.
Yeah, right. And also, when Christ was alive, some of the pyramids were already like 3,000 years old. That's what blows my mind.
That part's accurate.
That's how ancient the pyramids are. So anyway, well, thank you, Coco. Let's give him a round of applause.
I think Jocko had a quick question.
Go ahead, Jocko.
I was just going to say, I mean, the Roman Empire took censuses every year, so it might have been close to that number. You know?
I just don't see how Tiberius and the rest of the boys were getting over to the subcontinent of India, how they were keeping a good tally on what was going on in the Asian part of the world and what was happening on the islands.
They said they made, there was always a story of a legion that traveled to China, and we don't know yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure they've taken a census, though. I get that.
Right.
But I've heard that line used before, and it's important. I mean, historically, to Western civilization, that forcing of a census is critical to causing a lot of events.
But I think
I was agreeing with, like Max said, maybe just in that area around the Mideast and around the Mediterranean.
I think that the number that was come up with, not so much with census, but just anthropologists and so on know what was going on at the time in China, what was going on at the time in India, South America. They put it all together and said, well, there's 40 million people in China. There's 2 million people in South America, and that's how they arrived at the number. But who knows? To me, it seemed like a lot of people. I think that's a high number, 100 million in basically 2,000 years ago.
You know what, Mac? They couldn't read books. They didn't have newspapers, no TV, no radio, no entertainment.
They were reading books. The Egyptians had hieroglyphics.
But they had scrolls. You had to have a lot of money.
Pain in the ass.
They didn't have a lot.
Using as in the mass population. Sure.
Yeah, they didn't have a lot to do, so they will probably be producing a little quicker than we do today, maybe. I don't know.
And not living as long.
Farmhands you had.
Is that his way of explaining like a birth rate explosion or something like that?
Yeah, I would think.
People had nothing to do but...
Right, they had nothing else to do.
Wow. Okay, Jocko.
It's history, man.
Yeah,
Hey, Mac, or Snake, this thing in the 70s, did they not see this arc out from above the ground, like parts of it were?
That was the claim, and it's been disproven that what they said they saw was not there.
Okay. Wow. Otherwise,
because there was talk about bringing back pieces of the ark,
right?
And it was being analyzed and all that, and it's turned out that most of that has been proven to be a falsehood.
Bummer.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. So anyway, thank you for elucidating us on both history and religion.
It's Monsignor Cobra.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. Maybe Father Cobra. He looks like a priest. Now, just look at him for a second. People who can. I mean, if he had a collar on now, he looks like the priest who also coaches the basketball team, right? Father Flaherty.
If everyone had the collar on, they'd look like a priest.
I was playing in one of those CYO games, and I threw a chair at a referee, and I found out later he was He was a priest.
He's a priest, huh? Whoa.
I felt bad. I got thrown out.
You're lucky he can still be in the church.
Yeah.
He knew he made a mistake today. So we go.
So Jocko throws a chair at him. Cool. All right.
He lost the game for us.
You'd fit right in with the NBA.
I guess his
days,
descendant was
Libby.
part of that Red Sox game in the playoffs.
Oh, wow. Okay. We're going to open up that old wound again. So look, why don't we do this? Before that happens, why don't we take a commercial break now? And we'll be right back after this. You're listening to Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. Coco's here, Jocko's here, Wan's here, Switch is here, Raven is here, Lois Lane is here. We're all here, right?
The gang's
Did
here.
I get everyone?
You got it.
And Lola Cash is
We're all
here.
here.
Too. All right. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after this.
Hey fans, Lois Lane here, and I think it's time for you to get some free swag from Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show. We have badges, pins, bar coasters, and some very cool 3D show logos that we just can't wait to give away. Just go to mackmaloney.com and hit the contact button. Send us an email with your mailing address, and we'll ship the free swag out to you quicker than Switch can eat breakfast. That's mackmaloney.com and hit the contact button to get your free swag today. Requests for tasteful news of Wan will be handled on a case-by-case basis.
Do you know where the world's most secret bases are located? Do you know what spooky action at a distance means? Is there a conspiracy by aliens to prevent us from conquering space? And where is the best place in the United States to see a real UFO? Find the answers to all these questions and more in Mack Maloney's new book, Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe. Visit places you never knew existed: the Phantom Tunnels of Tokyo, the UFO Trail in South America, Hong's Hat, and the very mysterious M Triangle. Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe contains hundreds of reports on ghosts, haunted planes and ships, weird celebrity deaths, mysterious sounds, and a breakdown of every monster in America, state by state. You've heard him talk about it on the radio. Now, get all of Mack's paranormal research in one large volume. Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe, with a foreword by the very famous Wan. On sale now in your local bookstore or on Amazon.com.
You have to start again.
Oh, my gosh.
All right, we're going to go with 27-20, hon.
Ready? I didn't hear it.
Yep, here we go.
Anyone heard you burp?
Here we go.
3,
I didn't hear
2,
it.
Do it louder next time.
Here we go.
1.
Welcome back, everyone, to Mack Maloney.
Oh my gosh.
Switch goes, do it louder next time.
Well, you got to
All
give
right.
him 10 seconds.
27:30. Here we go. Welcome back, everyone, to Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney. What a show we have for you tonight. And we got more fun and laughs coming up. First, I should introduce very quickly the members of the posse. We're going to go counterclockwise on the Brady Bunch now. The very Lois Lane is with us tonight in the studio. Very lovely, I should say. I'm tongue-tied in your beauty. How are you?
Yes, I'm great tonight. Thanks for having me. Hi,
Okay.
Mac. Hi, everybody.
Okay, and you weren't laughing at the jokes earlier, though. Or should we take that as a bad sign? Or
No, because everybody else was laughing. I just don't have a good sense of humor, apparently.
You can laugh on the inside.
Look who you married, and you might want to rephrase
Well,
that.
maybe I do have a good sense of humor then.
Okay. Let's see. Let's go to Switchy. Switchy, you're up in the pecking order, at least for this segment. How you doing? Our national correspondent, Switch Red Seaboard.
I'm still doing Beyond Wonderful.
Okay. All right. Our favorite good witch up there in Sideways, New York, Raven, is with us.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Hello, Raven.
And
Hello.
an enormous bun tonight. This is the last bun of the year, apparently. After that.
Last bun of 2021.
Wow.
You know, get your fixins.
The bun is over, right?
The bun is
over.
no bun, no fun. That voice you hear
Just
is...
don't tell me I have an enormous bun.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Wow, switchy. Wan is here with us. Wani.
You betcha.
Okay,
How's it
Coco.
going? Hello,
Coco's
everybody.
here. I'm sorry, Coco's here showing the wolf, the Wile E. Coyote. What's he on, a ICBM? Is that the ankle there?
He's on a rocket.
Oh, he's on a rocket. Okay, but that's not going to work. Is it an Acme rocket?
Made by Acme.
It's an
Acme rocket.
Of course.
Okay, all right.
Wile E-Coyote, genius. Have brain will travel.
Yes.
If there's a motto to emulate, there it is.
But he always loses. He's like
he doesn't always lose.
The New York Mets of the cartoon.
He tries very hard. He's very clever. I mean, he enlists the best corporations.
Not clever at all.
The Acme Corporation is just really.
What cartoon are you watching? He's a dope. I mean, that's
tied into
it. Okay, listen. Jocko Johnson is also joining us.
He adorns my airplane. I will put a picture up in the background.
Okay.
Early.
Okay, I understand. Going against the grain, I'm sure a lot of pilots have the Roadrunner on their plane, but you chose.
They're both on there, but I want to show you guys how it is. Give me a second. I'll bring it up.
I'd have Bugs Bunny.
The Coyote always loses. All right. Jocko is with us too, our national correspondent. No, it's our southern correspondent. Sorry, switch. Jocko. You okay?
Yes, sir.
We're talking
Glad
about
to be here.
We're talking about recipes off here. We should do a cookbook. Jocko, cooking with Jocko. Then we had jerking with Jocko. His beef jerky.
Jerky from New York.
Yeah, that's right.
You want to know how we do it?
That's you want to tell us?
You take that proverbial hippie you talked about.
Go ahead.
You tenderize them with a nice little blackjack or nightstick. Slap them together. You put them in a cell, and you keep slamming the door against them.
Okay, yes.
You just finally push the desk up there. He flops down the staircase. He's done.
Okay. That's 8 simple ways to apparently injure a hippie who's under arrest.
I'm drinking hippie beer right now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
No offense.
Obviously, they didn't meet Jocko. Lucky for us.
So, why don't we go from that light note to the biggest skew of the show? Switchblade Steve Ward, everyone is interested in what you had for breakfast today. So, Switch, lay it on us.
This morning for breakfast, I had a heaping bowl of sugar frosted flakes.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Okay. No marshmallows, no nothing, right?
Oh no,
Okay.
no,
Marshmallows.
Yes.
I bought a box of Kellogg's sugar frosted flakes, and maybe I didn't have my glasses on, or I was in a hurry.
Yes.
I hate grocery shopping.
Everyone
I go
does.
through like I wish I could go through a drive-through window and just have them throw it in the car.
Great idea.
You're right.
Drive-through
There's about
grocery.
10 different kinds of frosted flakes.
They had miniature marshmallows in this.
Yeah. I heard the repeat the other day.
I dug a shallow grave and buried it.
Oh boy.
You know, Pally, you're lucky because I've been banned from the supermarket by my wife. She doesn't want to bail me.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I would love to do that.
You know when you get to the end of the car, at the end of the checkout, and they're like, "Did you find everything good?"
Yes.
See, I want to be honest and tell them what I really want to tell them.
What? You couldn't find what you wanted?
Well, no, because they're all a bunch of shitheads, and who cares? They don't care.
1850. Okay.
Mark the tape.
They're gonna tell me something, and I ordered it 15 years ago, and it still didn't come in. So
Okay. Yeah.
they don't really care.
Huh.
So apparently that's not good nowadays. So
I
just
hate.
Stop going.
I hate grocery shopping for one reason, and Lola Cash, aka Lois Lane, will, testify to this. I'm always afraid I'm going to run into someone I know in the first aisle, and then run into them 4 more times. You know what I mean? And so I've left entire shopping carts full of food just to get out of there. And
those are people you know. I lock people up. I'm going to run into.
That's even worse. Okay, go ahead, Raven. You have a grocery store story. I can tell.
You just put your head down and you just keep going.
Just keep going, yeah.
That's
But
just
don't they
pretend
say
like even if they say, "Hey, Mac, I'm so and so," you just keep going.
Yeah, but
like you didn't even hear them.
But that's like standoffish, no? Doesn't that give off the bad vibe? Standoffish.
I don't know, Mac. I think
small
coming out of
talk?
the store, leaving a grocery cart full of groceries that you didn't purchase, leaves a bad vibe too. So I mean, pick the lesser of the two evils.
Okay. Lois isn't laughing at any of this either. Don't you agree that's one of my phobias?
Oh, yes. It's absolutely
Talk
true.
about someone who should write a book.
Wow. Now she comes
right
to
there.
life.
Lois Lane writing the book on X phobias. It'd be like a 2-volume set.
Inside Mac.
A to Z. So anyway,
I don't
okay.
know. I meet interesting people in the supermarket.
Hey,
Do you,
You
I
want to
bet
know what
you
I had
do.
for lunch?
Yes, please. It sounds, save us. Go ahead.
I went to Denny's for lunch.
Yes.
Denny's Diner.
Nice.
Oh.
I had a double-decker diner hamburger, fries, and a large Coke.
Yes.
An upper decker burger? What?
Double-decker.
A double
diner
decker. My
burger.
God.
So that was a double-decker slices of bread, and it was like a club sandwich.
Yeah.
No, it's like a
double hamburger,
a double-decker burger.
It's like a double burger.
Had the fries.
Hey,
I didn't hear anything about a club sandwich.
Oh, yeah.
One. What's going on?
I
here?
was just
He's thinking about a club
burgers,
sandwich, I guess.
you know, for some
slice
reason,
of bread, another burger.
What is what are the fries like at Denny's? I don't know.
They're not bad. They're pretty good.
Because a lot of places I go in, I actually ask them to do the well done fries. Okay, because a lot of times, man,
they're always raw.
Yeah, they throw the fries on and they're barely out of the refrigerator. It seems like, but well done fries are actually really good. We're talking about French fries twice tonight.
You know why, Mac? They put these coatings on them now, so they come out crispy no matter what they think.
Oh, is that right?
But you got to get the regular plain. You know, you got to get them plain.
Yeah. And deep fry those bad boys. So anyway, so Switch. Okay, all right. Did you leave a tip for the for the lunch?
I absolutely did.
Okay, let's guess now. I'm going to say a double-deck burger, fries.
Well, you don't know how much I paid.
I'm going to guess it. Okay.
He's guessing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to say.
Calm down, Switch.
Let's see, a double hamburger.
Oh, you get the cooling hand there.
I'm going to say $12. $12.
Perfect.
Really? Yeah. What's your leave?
12 and some change.
Okay.
Well, guess what I left.
I'm going to say. Hopefully, you left at least $10.
$8.
$8. Okay.
Okay.
That's a
$20 total bill. I
think that was $6.
Okay, number one.
Great. Yeah, $20, sure.
Okay.
$8 on a $12 bill is awesome.
I know it's awesome, but $10 is even more awesome. And I'll tell you why. 2 reasons. Number
That's
one,
true.
you want them to be your friends and remember you. Number 2, these are the people who are serving you food, dude, and you want them on your side 24/7.
Michelle did remember me, and she said, "Military discount?" I said, "Yes, thank you."
Wow. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wow.
One day, Switchy will be a best-selling author, and he also will be living $10.
There you go. Okay. All right. But I'm glad
do yourself a favor.
I'm glad you left the
yourself
egg.
a flavor, Switch. Okay. Next time you have them Frosted Flakes, put half and half on it. Not right.
I've done that.
What?
I've done
I'm
that.
calling the police.
Yeah, I've done that.
Half and half.
Oh, it's
Talking to
okay.
the police.
He is the police.
Oh, yeah, this is the law where I came from. A little bit of half and half. You know, you don't have to put a lot.
I mean, I do whole milk, but not half and half.
Forget the whole milk. That's all I got is whole milk, because the rest of it's just white water.
I know, you're right.
But you put a little bit of half and half in there. I'm telling you, Switch, you'll never eat it any other way. Gotta have a good heart. But have a good heart.
You'll have a good heart, too. Wow. I hope they mix well with the little marshmallows. So anyway.
When are we writing a book?
Okay. Yeah, why don't we do that? Jocko, it's your time to shine. Are you ready? We have a little report on at least 3 instances where just odd weather, and I'm not just saying wild weather, but odd weather helped, our country, the military history of our country. It came into really affect 3 major events in our history. So please, Jocko, take it away.
Okay, thank you, Mac. You look into this, it's really been happening so many times over the years in so many different wars and battles. And Washington and the founders used to talk about Providence, and it seems like Providence was looking upon them to help them. The first incident, I guess we can talk about is August 29th. There was a running battle through Long Island in New York City, Long Island, Queens, and Brooklyn, what you would call today, at the western end of the island, and then lies Manhattan in the middle of the East River on the east side, and on the west side is the Hudson River. Mm-hmm. At the bottom is the Narrows, New York Harbor, and on the other side is New Jersey. And so Washington was totally outnumbered by the British. They sailed the fleet into New York Harbor. The Continental Army, they had lost badly during this week of this running battle, how they were being pushed closer and closer to the water through Long Island. They were outnumbered 2-1. A fifth of their force had been lost to death, injury, or capture. And on the evening of the 29th of August, 1776, they were pinned down in Brooklyn between the East River and the British Army. And they decided that the only way to do this was to escape, to have somebody left so we could continue this battle, or the revolution was over right here and now. So the Maryland Brigade, as they called them, or the Maryland Regiment, had come up from Maryland to help in this war. They had volunteered. They have monuments all over New York for these guys. They actually sacrificed themselves in a holding action, a rear guard action, to keep the British off the American forces as they were escaping the Continental Army. And Washington called in, basically they were like harbor pilots, I guess you would say, the people who were familiar with the harbor. But what he would do is, and he did this also in Delaware, when he crossed the bridge, when he crossed the Delaware to get to Trenton.
Mm-hmm.
He had these guys that were his favorites, these Massachusetts boatmen. And they were from Boston. They were whalers and fishermen.
Actually, Marblehead, Mass. I need to throw that in there.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Cape Cod, I was going to say, from, all around the area. And they were excellent fishermen. They could row boats. And, they did these ancient things that were done in ancient times where they would put cloth on the wheels of the carts and the shoes of the men and the everything, weapons. And they would actually put cloth wrap the oars so they wouldn't hear them splash.
Wow, cool. Yes.
As they would row. And these guys were something they knew about, how to get across a river.
Yep.
Well, the Marylanders had kept these campfires burning throughout the evening and the early morning so that the British thought the Americans were still on the side, on the Brooklyn side.
Mm-hmm.
And it was raining for days, and they were in like quagmires of mud. And at about 5:30 in the morning, the sun came up. But for some unknown reason, there was a fog that was said that, it said Mother Nature put out a fog, a form of liquid and gas. Between the rain and the fog, it was so tremendous that they said British soldiers and Marines were sitting in the masts of the ships looking down into the river, waiting while like 5,000 troops are coming across in these boats in daylight. You couldn't see them 20 feet away.
Wow, isn't that nuts, man?
As soon as they get to the other side, the fog lifts. It's a beautiful day.
I mean, how
and
strange is that? So how many people, how many soldiers were, and basically this is the evacuation in New York. It's considered one of the the biggest victories of the revolution because the army survived to fight again and ultimately win. But
correct.
What was it, like maybe 4,000 or 5,000 guys?
I think it was 5,000. I think he had an army of about 9,500, and throughout whoever was captured and died, and their casualties.
Right.
That was all he had left, and he, this was just a fifth of his force. They said that were left alive.
Yeah.
They got across.
Wow, that's crazy.
It took hours.
They couldn't believe how not easy it was, but how this fog kind of like just protected them. And then, like you say, once it's over, the British have no idea what's going on. Because back then warfare was different. You'd see his campfire, they'd see your campfires, they know where you are and stuff. And then basically you meet sometime during the day, for a battle, So if you see a bunch of, fires burning, you think that they're still there, but they weren't. So all Washington really did, one of the things he did was he just left the campfires burning, and everyone just took for granted on the British side that the Americans are there, we'll finish them off tomorrow and so on. But what he was really doing is evacuating 5,000 people. That's a lot. And these little, not little, but they were rowboats, basically rowboats. And for some reason, this unbelievably really weird, almost paranormal fog shows up on New York Harbor. And they're able to row right by the British, troops, maybe 10, 15 feet away. So anyway, so Jocko was going to be back soon and talking about two more incidents where there's been like really kind of weird weather having to affect our the military history of this country in a good way. So why don't we do this now? Why don't we take a break? And we'll be right back after this. You're listening to Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network.
Do you know where the world's most secret bases are located? Do you know what spooky action at a distance means? Is there a conspiracy by aliens to prevent us from conquering space? And where is the best place in the United States to see a real UFO? Find the answers to all these questions and more in Mack Maloney's new book, Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe. Visit places you never knew existed. The Phantom Tunnels of Tokyo, the UFO Trail in South America, Hong's Hat, and the very mysterious M Triangle. Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe contains hundreds of reports on ghosts, haunted planes and ships, weird celebrity deaths, mysterious sounds, and a breakdown of every monster in America, state by state. You've heard him talk about it on the radio. Now, get all of Mack's paranormal research in one large volume. Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe, with a foreword by the very famous Wan Wan. On sale now in your local bookstore or on Amazon.com.
I was in the hospital with my son for 18 months.
When he got injured, I wasn't prepared, but I knew I had to be strong.
When I was told about John's injury, I was in complete shock. I just remember rushing into his room and giving him a big hug and letting him know I was there.
These veterans and families are just a few of the heroes we serve at Homes for Our Troops. For thousands of severely injured veterans, everyday life is filled with barriers.
It was really the little things throughout the house. Counters that you can't roll up to. I had to drag my wheelchair down steps.
I want to help, but he is so determined.
At Homes for Our Troops, we build specially adapted custom homes with features like wheelchair access, roll-in showers, and automatic door openers that allow them to function independently and focus on their recovery and family.
This house is freedom. It's hope. It's a new beginning.
This house has given me my family back.
To learn more, visit hfotusa.org.
Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney. What a show we have for you tonight. We now have a new kind of segment coming up, and what this is Greatest Hits. A little while ago, we asked people to write in and nominate their favorite segments. In the past, 2 or 3 months or so, we came up with a bunch of them. And we're going to play them now. I should remind everyone before that, your bag of swag is only one email away. Just go to mackmaloney.com, hit the contact button, and send us your mailing address, and we will send you the bag of swag from Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show. It includes 2 buttons. It includes bar coasters. It includes 3D decals of the show logo, and also 2 pins, 2 kind of cool collar pins that we call family pins. So just go to mackmaloney.com, hit the contact button, send us your mailing address, and we'll get the bag of swag out to you, okay? And without further ado, why don't we get into our greatest hits segments, okay? These are listener-requested segments from the show. Welcome back, everyone, to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney. What a show we have for you tonight. But first, let me quickly introduce the members of the posse, okay? Up there near the lake, next to the lake, I can see him sitting next to his fireplace in a rocking chair with a blanket because he's got the shivers. Is that the very famous Wan Wan? Wow, what an introduction, JJ. What happened?
I'm kind of on my lazy boy, by the way.
Oh, are you really? That I understand. Yeah. Okay,
lazy boy.
Okay, girls, you've been warned. Probably not on his lazy boy, but we'll find out up there in his bunker on the Great White North, the great state of Maine, looking out at the rest of us. Commander Cobra.
Good evening, Mac. I am actually sitting in one of my old aircraft chairs that I use. Yeah.
Huh. Do you have an injection seat on it?
Not anymore.
Okay.
Is your bunker heated?
Not anymore. Of course it's heated.
Okay.
But
it's heated with the good thoughts and good vibrations of the sensitive man that I am.
Oh, okay. And a space heater, an illegal space heater.
That's it. I know.
Look, up there in the Boulder Flakes, Battle Creek, Michigan, our national correspondent, Switchblade Steve Ward.
Great to be here.
Great to be, and also a special guest joining us. Is she's still there? Valerie LaFaso, who we're gonna come up with a nickname for her, but she's a resident empath. Valerie, you there still?
Here, thank you.
Okay.
Hello, Valerie.
It's good to be back.
It is. Is it really? Yeah. Okay.
Welcome back.
All right.
It is.
Okay.
I promise.
All right. We have to go back.
Valerie.
We have to go back to Switch really quick because in the previous segment we neglected. We forgot. Because we're having so much fun to ask him what the question that everyone across America, around the world, wants the answer to. What did you have for breakfast today, Switchy?
Are you really sure that people around the world want to hear this, or would that be bordering on fake news?
We got 213 people in 213 people, brother, in New Zealand. Okay, so
that's all there is in New Zealand.
Yeah, well, it's okay. Well, we got a captive audience then, don't we?
Okay. Well, actually, it came very close to being a vanilla frosted Little Debbie honey bun this morning.
Mm-hmm.
But fate moved its huge hand, because last night it was sitting on the counter.
Oh.
I happened to make a pot of coffee, and my eyes, I wasn't even thinking about it, but my eyes connected with it, and I thought, why wait?
Maybe you're an empath for junk food, right? You can feel it in the room.
This morning I went back to the old standard sugar frosted flakes.
Okay, all right. No marshmallows.
Oh, God, no.
No, okay. All right, because we had a bad scene last week. I was just listening to the show.
I had to sage the house afterwards.
Okay, yeah. So are you still, without giving too much away, you're still a bachelor?
Yes, I am.
Yes, okay.
And you know Krakatoa?
Yes.
That explosion and what the rubble that must have happened. Well, I'm trying to get the place cleaned up to at least that level of destruction, just so I can kind of move around, and then we'll move on from there.
Krakatoa level. Okay. All right, Switchy. That's okay. Just do a little bit at a time. Baby steps. You'll get it fixed. Why don't you just have someone come in and clean the place? How about that?
Yeah,
it costs
why would it be so messy anyway?
And as you know, I'm writing a book.
Oh, and he's writing a book. That's why.
Parallels and Patterns, a new paradigm for the study of paranormal phenomena, with my co-author, Joey Medea. Yes. And it's coming along, but I might have to reincarnate to finish it.
Really? What do you mean?
Well, it's just been a little slow the last few days, but at least I'm getting some
last few days. Yeah, okay, good.
Rather than going for like a couple of weeks with writer's block or something.
Writer's block. There's no such thing as writer's block.
I'm not actually a writer yet to have writer's block.
Writer's block is the biggest myth in the world. There's no such thing as writer's block.
You've never had writer's block?
Never. And I've been doing it for longer than I want to say.
Don't you go down to the coma to get some inspiration or something?
No, because there were times that there's
a lot of space cowboys down there.
Well, there have been times, I've been doing this for a long time, long before the beach coma even, popped onto my radar screen, frankly. But
a typewriter.
It's never happened. And because I don't get it. I think that a lot of times those are, frankly, writers who are like lazy or they're trying to get more money in a contract or something. It's kind of like could be a negotiation thing. Or they have another. I don't know, but I can truthfully say that I have never had writer's block.
But I've got a question for you now that I'm trying to do this myself.
Go ahead.
You must have had days. Do you have days where you get, shall we say, sidetracked?
Yeah, every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Okay. Well, give us an example. What happens? What kind of things? What kind of shiny objects to take you away from your writing temporarily?
Well, it's funny because you always think, okay, I'm going to get up because I get up early every morning and I'm just going to go hit it, and that's what you always think. But what I don't realize is that, from the time I sit down for at least the first hour or two, I'm like just responding to emails and stuff like that, kind of get stuff done that you do on the computer anyway. So and then when the show's involved, I have to log in the show on Wednesday mornings. I get up extra early, I log in the show, send the notes to the editor, and you get that out of the way, and then usually what happens too is Wednesday is the day that you send out last week's show. So I got to listen to that and make sure that all the edits are right and the time is right and stuff like that. And it takes, some time. So by that time, it's lunch, right? So now I got to go get lunch. And
so it's not frivolous stuff. It's like
stuff
that needs to be done.
It's stuff that has to be done, yeah. Yep. The frivolous stuff comes later.
I'm good at being distracted by frivolous stuff.
Yeah, like X-Hamster and X-Videos, that kind of frivolous stuff. Is that what you're trying to say?
X-Videos? No. I was going to say retro TV, maybe.
Okay, all right. Yep. Different strokes.
They get more plugs than anybody.
Whoa.
Jeez.
Anyway,
Dr. Val, would you like to weigh in?
Well, she's
on
written
this,
books.
or do you have an ejection seat and decide to use it?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You sure you want to be a regular Val on the show?
She might have already punched out.
I gotta think about that a little bit.
Well, wait a minute. Now you're a writer. You've written books. It's a pain in the neck, isn't it? Please tell me.
It absolutely is.
There you go. Okay. See. And
I agree with you.
But the thing is that especially is if you have to do it, then you're going to do it. You know what I mean? if you have to
but sometimes it's really cool. I mean, like just yesterday morning, I needed some references, and I was able to find them, able to figure out where to get them, and I was, but some things were coming together. So every once in a while, there's a moment that's where it's a lot of fun.
Well, yeah. I mean, when I need stuff, you know what I do? I call Coco, which I think I did 3 times today. What's the heaviest thing on a B-52? That type of stuff, So.
Oh, I thought you meant like a mafia boss, like somebody could get things done.
I'd call someone else for that. So, yeah. I mean, and the thing is that, you have to kind of get into the, kind of get into it every day, and sometimes... Some days you have it, sometimes you don't. But if the days you don't have it, you got to at least kind of work on it a little bit, so you just won't feel bad. But yeah. Yep. So does that answer your question there, Switch? Did you think it would be that detailed? Yep.
I think the listeners wanted to know.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I found that interesting.
Bring in a lot of light beer, some Tito's, some weed. You can get through anything. Believe me. So anyway, Valerie, is that how you do it?
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
Light beer and weed?
No, I agree with you.
I just like to say that he does call me on that particular subject
true.
as well.
There are 2 topics to the phone call. That's right. I'm sorry, Valerie, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that having the momentum definitely helps once you get started and get into it and have the momentum. It definitely makes it easier to keep picking it back up day after day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at a point with my books right now where I've dropped the momentum for the last few days and need to get that back.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully tomorrow.
I mean, one thing too that the people ask me, how to do it. Like X, for instance, X is coming. His first book is coming out in June, called The Wolf of Caldorf. It's about how the Irish threw the Vikings out of Ireland. And it's a historical novel. It's nice, but. I've known him for a long time, and I had to walk him through every freaking day of this thing. And he finally got a publishing contract. But like one of the things that he would ask me, well, how do you do it? And one of the things that this just came to me, but I didn't realize that I just never thought, does anyone else do this? But what you kind of get sometimes, what you get bogged down on is if you're writing the book, chronologically or laterally or whatever. Okay, so when you get bored with something that might be in chapter 3, but that you're going to have something in chapter 8, like for me, it's a dogfight or some kind of battle, I just go and I write that. I write that for the day, and you're off of that. You're off that kind of that wheel, that hamster wheel of just kind of turning and turning and turning. Do something different, and then you lay it aside, and then when you get to that point. You say, oh, this is great because I've already written this, And so you do that. So you can write stuff out of order because you're going to have to put it back together anyway. So that's another thing that kind of keeps you off the, it keeps it from being a drag. How about that? I should give those online courses there, one. We should set that up.
Because I was relating it to, like a carpenter, having trouble with the 4 walls. Tell you what, I think I'll go over here, build the roof. And eventually I'm going to need that roof. So I'll just be a fantastic job on the roof, and then I'll go back to the 4 walls or whatever.
Wow. That's a Zen way of looking at carpentry there, JJ. Yes.
That's how I look at troubleshooting computers.
Yeah. Speaking of that, when
I make up the solution and work my way back.
You're going to have to come down to the beach house soon and sanitize, if you know what I mean.
Okay, I do.
So anyway,
would there be a virus issue there, Mac?
Well, listen, there's always kinds of issues, as you know. So most of the stuff.
I need a full PPE suit when I go down there.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. Okay, one. All right.
Maybe like an N95 type mask.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, Switch, you have a story tonight for us on the from Reports from the Fringe called the Lubbock Lights, and let me just see if I can. If I can thumbnail it real quick, back in the 50s, strange, not like 1 or 2 UFOs spotted, but almost on demand, almost on schedule. People would see like large Vs of flying saucers flying in formation, right?
Yes. And this is kind of it does go back. This is sort of an old school report. It was only 4 years after Kenneth Arnold had his sighting in 1947. And by the way, the source for this was a UFO magazine, not the older UFO report, but this is the one that was helmed by Vicki Cooper and Don Ecker. Vicki Cooper became Vicki Ecker. She was actually the editor, and later on they both became editors of UFO magazine. Lasted many years. And Kevin Randall, another name we all know, is a gentleman that wrote this article on the Lubbock Lights. It occurred. The first sighting occurred on August 25th, 1951. And this is like you say, this is a multi-witness UFO sighting, and there are actually several waves of these things. And it's the three of the original witnesses could be considered expert witnesses, and they were professors. There were three professors from Texas Tech University, and they were out there doing a sky watch. They were looking for meteorites in conjunction with a study that they were doing for micrometeorites. Now, I'm not sure, we don't have a lot of information on this, so I don't know. I guess I checked it out, but a micrometeorite is actually supposed to be smaller than 2 meters. So I'm not sure how you determine, when you're observing the sky and you see meteors in the sky become meteorites, of course, when they hit. I don't know. It must be pretty difficult to find any that actually make it to the ground before they completely burn up. And I don't know how the heck you'd ever find a micrometeorite, but that's what they were out doing the night that they saw these lights come over, and they were. Of course, you can't. They were going over fairly quickly. It's impossible to tell how high they were, and by the way, the professors were Dr. W.I. Robertson, Dr. A.G. Oberg, and W.L. Ducker. So these were real people, and it was 9:10 p.m. And they were sort of. If you look at you can see these old photographs if you Google them on the computer. It was sort of, Mac, I would say kind of a double V formation in a way, but they're all kind of grouped together. They were moving from north to south. Now, there was a lot of buzz later on suggesting that they were birds or something and that the lights from the city were reflecting up on them. But originally the professors said that they actually described them as like a string of beads in a rough semicircular pattern. If you look at the photographs, I'd say it's a little more of it's kind of a rounded V, I guess. But they thought that it looked like they were giving off their own illumination. And they looked like they're in a very steady pattern. And they all agreed that they were generating their own light. So I think they were, some of the people later on to try and suggest that they were reflections off birds might have been off track, although I don't know, for sure what they were. They were yellowish white in color. Professor Ducker gave an estimate that the UFOs were above 50,000 feet, but that was only based on the fact that he didn't hear any sound. There was no shock wave or whatever. So really it was just a wild guess. It's if you don't know how big these things are, you don't have any idea really how high they are. And there was no reference points up there to determine that.
Hey, Richie, what year was this?
1951.
Okay.
And
so there was no way back then there was in some kind of Air Force project then, right?
Oh, yeah. Actually, it was. I think it was Project Grudge before Blue Book took over. In fact, Ruppelt was involved in this to some degree, but it's before the official Project Blue Book. But the Air Force comes into this a little bit later. The managing editor of the Lubbock Avalanche, Jay Harris, found out about these lights later that evening. And Professor Ducker had called it in because he thought this was kind of an important sighting. And at first, the professors were a little bit hesitant to put their names out there for obvious reasons, because UFOs had been in the news for several years. Well, usually they would call them flying saucers back then. And there was a lot of ridicule. But they finally relented and put their names in there. So then later on, there were actually several successive nights of these, and they even tried to set up different observation points to try and be scientific to triangulate and to try and get a better idea of the height of the objects. But they were unsuccessful, because even though they flew over several successive nights, obviously you can't get these things on demand.
See, here's the thing too, just to jump in here, this is what always kind of fascinated me about the story, is that, they saw them, like I said, they almost showed up on time. You know what I mean? They almost showed up. They were looking for them, and then, there they are. And that usually is not the situation when you spot UFOs. The other thing, too, is, and they couldn't tell how high they were, but there's another situation that just happens to be in UFOs in wartime on sale everywhere, where Gordon Cooper, who was one of the Mercury astronauts later on in the early 50s, he was a fighter pilot in Germany, right on the line between the East and West, and this is when they thought the Russians were going to attack us at any time. And they saw, and he wrote about this himself extensively, they would see almost the same things, these kind of triangles, kind of like a rounded off triangle formation, chevron type thing of these discs way up high. They determined that they were, giving off their own luminescence and stuff, and they thought sure that they were going from east to west, and they thought sure they were Russian secret weapons or whatever. That turned out not to be so. They used to try to, for the first few days this happened, and once again they kind of showed up on time, where they they scrambled jets, but they were too high up, and they figured that they were around 55,000 feet, and so finally they just stopped scrambling the jets, and they saw them many times over like 2 or 3 weeks, and made all kinds of reports to the Pentagon. They never heard anything about it. So anyway, Gordon Cooper, hero, really American hero, because he was an astronaut, but he also spoke openly about UFOs. So that kind of reminds me of this in a way, Switch. Big formations showing up routinely. It's really weird.
Now, they hadn't gotten the classic photographs at this point. There was a guy named Joe Bryant of Brownfield, Texas, that now Brownfield's about 40 miles west of Lubbock. He saw 2 sets of lights go over. These were not in formation. I'm not really sure these were the same things at all. And then a third set went over, and they circled low, and you could tell that they were birds in this particular case, and they were kind of reflecting off the lights of the city, apparently. He said that they were plovers, like a sand plover, I guess, but somebody else said that they're a migrating type bird, and they wouldn't have even been up there at that time. But whatever, he probably did see birds, but they were not in this rigid formation that the other ones were. Now, they hit pay dirt on August 31st. A man named Carl Hart Jr., a young guy, I think he was a college student, a photography bug, and he was looking out his window. He'd heard about these lights, had been in the newspapers, and so he saw the lights. He went and grabbed his 35 millimeter camera. Remember those Kodak 35 millimeter camera with real films and real film, real negatives. Shutter speed of f3.5 back when we had shutter speeds. Went outside, and he got 2 pictures of what turned out to be a second wave, because he saw this first wave go through, was alerted, went outside. If that was the only wave that went through, which is normally what happens, he would have had nothing. And then a third wave flew over, and he got 3 more pictures. And these are what we see on, you'll see, that's what you'll see on the internet, are those photographs that this particular guy, Carl Hart Jr., took. And again, Harris of the Lubbock Avalanche learned of the pictures, and when he talked to the guy, he was vehement. He said, "Man, these better not be faked." Man, he really read the guy the riot act, and this kid was very sincere, and it was like he said, "I don't know what these are, but this is what I photographed." So that's when they ended up in the paper, and he got $10 for it. He wasn't really, looking for money. About $10 in those days.
Well, he didn't
was
get
probably
it.
about $100 these days.
Okay, go ahead.
But also he said he did not want to copyright them, because then he felt that people would really think that he had tried to fake something to make a few bucks. Now, then enter the Air Force, okay? Yep. And they came, this is, again, would have been Project Grudge, just the tail end of, there was Project Sign, then Project Grudge, and then Project Blue Book. Right. This is, I think, the last year that 51 was probably the last year for Grudge, and then 52 they formed Project Blue Book. And this was from Reese Air Force Base, west of Lubbock, and there was a team from Wright-Patterson also, including Lieutenant Edward Ruppelt, later who became Captain Ruppelt and was headed Project Blue Book. And a team of photographic experts checked out these photographs. And there's a test report, and they took in consideration the type of lens and the camera specifics and everything. And the conclusion was that one thing that's important was they did find some slight movement in the lights. Not very much, but indicating that it wasn't just one craft with a bunch of lights on it. Okay. But on the other hand, I mean, we've all seen the first night when I got my third generation night vision goggles, and I took them outside. If you look at birds way up in the night sky, if they're high up enough, they look like pinpoints of light. If they're low enough, you can actually see them, their wings flapping. But when I first saw them, I thought it almost looked like an armada of spaceships or something. But while they do fly in formation, they don't stay that steady. They just don't do it. So this would indicate, now again, I don't know what these things were, but it seems to indicate that these were definitely not, they couldn't simply be birds reflecting off city lights.
Right, yeah.
The Air Force felt, I mean, again, they felt this guy was solid. There was no evidence of a hoax. And he saw this guy Hart, who kept watching the skies. He saw two more formations of these things on a later date, and on September 1st, actually. But he did not photograph those.
Right.
And there was. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, why would the birds show up? As expected to.
If they're migrating, they would. But again, if you watch any birds over a period of time, they just don't. They're just not that rigid.
Yeah, they're not perfect. Yeah. And just to throw this in real quick, we went from Project Sign to Project Grudge to Blue Book, and the reason that Project Grudge, the one in the middle, failed was at the time we were fighting in the Korean War, and what happened back then is that for the first time we had jet fighters, but you also had aircraft that had radar in the aircraft. So if you picked up some kind of UFO, you would have, sometimes radar on the ground, sometimes radar on a ship, but you would actually have radar on an airplane. So you could, if two or more see this thing, then that means that there's something up there. So the U.S. military, especially the Navy and the Air Force, they were in this position of because the government stand at that time was that anyone who saw UFOs was either a religious crank or they're hallucinating or they're delusional or whatever. But now their pilots are seeing all these UFOs over Korea, and there are lots and lots of them. There's been entire books written just about UFOs over Korea, and now they had to backtrack because they couldn't say, well, our pilots are religious zealots and hallucinating or whatever. So that's what that's why Grudge turned into Project Blue Book, because they said, well, we're going to have to at least put a little more effort into this, and that's how it happened. How's that for a little side note there?
And their original conclusion in this report, they thought these were objects 60 to 120 feet big, but they forgot about that later. They didn't know there was that range because they never really knew how high these things were. But then that was forgotten. That was kind of brushed under the carpet. Then there was a report also. There was another sighting, separate sighting in Matador, Texas, where two women saw a sort of a pear-shaped object on August 31st. And if you look at one of the photographs of the Lubbock Lights, kind of from the side, they look a little bit like pear-shaped. They even look kind of like the head of a street light. You know how you got the glass part in the front and it kind of tapers to the back. So that's you can't really tell because it's just a blotch of light.
That's what's weird about it too, is that they literally are lights. You don't have any visual clue that might be solid or whatever. They just seem to be lights, like headlights up in the sky. It was strange.
Mac, a couple of things that I wanted to throw in, and I wanted to get Switch's take on this.
Yes.
You made a remark earlier about the U shape versus the V shape, and there was professors, if I remember, from Texas, from either one of the universities in the area there, that had been some of the witnesses. So they had very, credible witnesses. And they said that the photographs didn't reflect what they saw. They said what they looked at was in a U shape when it went by, and not the V shape. And I remember you making that remark earlier this evening when we were opening up this segment. The other part that I have always, there's two pieces. The part that always I found perplexing of this, Captain Rupert, Ruppelt, excuse me, and I think he retired as a colonel or a lieutenant colonel. He said they weren't birds, but it wasn't reflected light, but they weren't spaceships either. And that was like, I think one of his famous quotes has been, but I can't divulge what it was. He never could tell the story what it was.
That's right.
Okay, but see, let's just go back in the time machine here for a second, okay? I'm sure the others want to ask questions too. But, okay, so let's say that in 1951, the U.S. Air Force had some kind of a top-secret thing that, if you're not in the know, it looks to you like, a some kind of a shape of lights going overhead on a regular basis for about 2 weeks over Texas, right?
Right.
Okay, so where is it? You know what I mean? What exactly were they working on?
Well, that's an interesting part because, Mac, there were witnesses around the same time of the Lubbock Lights that talked about seeing a soundless flying wing.
Flying wing.
And that's one of my crazy, things that I chase is the flying wing stuff that repeatedly comes up. And Rupert knew that the Air Force did have a flying wing jet bomber, but he could never figure out what the part was that it was silent, what was going on with it. So it's an interesting portion of it. But there are some aircraft that never will be seen, especially if they're in the, the onesies, twosies, maybe 5 of them are built capability. And they may be doing some really, really miserable things to the crew, or they may be using a really dangerous type of fuel source.
But just to have, like dozens of them going over was like, really strange, and I know that we go just real quick, go back to Area 51, let's say, all right? There's no really big mystery about Area 51 other than that's a top secret place where they test our latest aircraft, okay? And I remember reading one, it might have been in Ben Rich's book because he worked at the Skunk Works. He said roughly out of every 10 ideas that we actually come up with and build and fly and stuff like that, if one of them comes out of that, it's a success. So there's 9 other aircraft that are flying around that they probably look crazier than ever. The airplane that is the second generation to the stealth fighter, they literally called it the Flying Whale. You ever see that, Coco? It was like ultra paved blue.
Absolutely.
It looked literally like a beluga whale with wings. And
they said that aircraft may have done some of the most incredible deep missions because of and it was under the Have Blue program, that it pulled off what it pulled off. Yeah. And that one never showed up as a designated number on there. Mac, to supplant your conversation, your argument, look at Scaled Composites, the guys, the Rutan guys. They build some of the most incredible. They get contracted to build demonstration models, flying model size of various aircraft. They're the guys that built the Virgin spaceship that's for tourism. Scaled Composites. They have some of the craziest airplanes in onesies and twosies that demonstrated some particular aerodynamic capability. And that's it. And some of them are sitting in little museums all sprinkled through the United States. Some of them are out at their facility. And then, sadly, some of them get broken up.
So let's just go down another road. Now, the Rutan people, they're the people who were in the plane that flew around the world, right? Nonstop around the world?
One of the brothers was. Not the primary designer brother.
Okay.
That's Richard Rutan. And then Bert Rutan's the brother that was mainly the lead engineer.
And how long, what did it take, 5 days to fly around the world? Because it was more,
5 or 6 days, yeah. It was an incredible airplane. It's in the Smithsonian.
And the crew was a divorced couple,
Well, they got together. And then after the flight, that's when things.
They were like a Rocky after being cooped up for 5 days. Okay, all right.
Incredible mission how they did it. They scraped the wingtips off the airplane on the takeoff.
Yeah, on takeoff, the little winglets.
They were drooping so much because the amount of fuel and everything. But the way it was built, they didn't leak anything, and they still could fly it. And they took it around.
What year? Man, what was that in the 80s? Probably 80s. 90s?
I'm trying to remember. I have to look that up for you, Mac.
Who would want to do that?
A second.
Hey, Valerie, any questions on the Lubbock Lights? The Lubbock Lights. Have you ever seen anything like that? Lubbock, if you're from Texas. Ever seen it?
I haven't seen anything like that, but I've heard lots of stories similar to that. I've heard the story before, not with so much detail, so it was interesting to hear a little bit more about that. Mm-hmm. A comment that I would make, about some people saying it looked more like a U and other people saying it looked more like a V or whatever. I've heard stories where multiple people will be witnessing the same thing, but because we perceive things so differently, one person sees orange lights and another person says, oh no, they look pink to me, because we interpret things differently.
Right.
And even shapes sometimes, depending on where you're standing and how you're viewing something, it can, be the same object and look completely different to two different people.
In any police investigation, believe it or not, eyewitness testimony is like on the lowest part of the scale, Yeah. You need, forensic evidence and stuff like that because, as you say, people remember stuff differently. For whatever reason, very, very rarely does someone remember the same kind of event exactly the same way, So,
Mac, just to pass you your date, the Voyager was in 86. 9 days. Okay. 14 through 23 December. 9 days and 3 minutes.
9 days. Ooh, up there in the tube with someone you're about to get divorced from.
I don't think they were just about when they got in, when they, closed the hatch there, Mac.
Sounds like a sitcom. It may have
been a result of the mission and then the fanfare after.
I just remembered that at one point they were supposed to, divvy up the flying hours. But she said that he went a little crazy and he flew the last 48 hours himself or something like that.
Something like that, yep.
Yeah. Anyway, love in strange places. So what do we do? Why don't we take? So go ahead. There, switch it. You got You got a bow for the? You got a bow for the segment?
Well, yes. And to go to Cobra's point,
yes.
The photographs were taken on a different night than the professors saw whatever they saw. So they may have been the same thing in a different formation or whatever. So they weren't actually seeing the same thing. But there was a guy on the 31st, or actually a lady. She saw had a closer view. Well, again, we don't know if it's exactly the same thing or not. But she saw Mrs. Tom Wilson saw a close-up of something that looked kind of teardrop shaped that was silver moving through the sky. Perhaps the same thing, maybe not. And the final conclusion of Project Gludge in the Air Force was that they were illuminated birds by flying overhead, illuminated by street lights. And of course, again, no migratory birds were there at the time.
Right.
And there was a lot of problems with that, as was pointed out before. And when Menzel, remember Donald Menzel?
Yes.
Later on, he reincarnated as Philip Klass, I think. Okay. The ultra, I won't call him a skeptic, I'll call him a cynic.
Yep.
He said it was, his big thing was temperature inversions. Remember that?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yes, that was, and he said that a temperature inversion would make the objects appear to move, whatever these, like stars or whatever.
Right.
So that was and of course it was just brushed off and others claimed, well, it was the photographs were a hoax, when I think it's unlikely that they were a hoax. Whatever Hart got was not something that he hoaxed.
And the thing too is that, once again, it was there are people who write, they're doctors in the migration of birds, right? They would know on a certain day that there'd be these kind of birds over Lubbock heading this way, heading that way. And the whole bird theory just went out the window because, you can track those type of things. Just the fact, and you don't hear, but, it's kind of funny how UFOs, kind of progress over the years because you don't hear a lot of, stories of just kind of like lights. It's, these days people see solid objects or whatever. That's the way it kind of seems. But in the 50s, you did have these kind of mysterious lights. The green, we should do a segment on the green fireballs sometime, because that's a whole other kind of.
Had the Phoenix lights.
The Phoenix lights. Yeah, that's true.
90s.
We should do the Phoenix, because maybe I fell for something, and Coco can tell me. We should do a show on the Phoenix lights. Here they are calling right now. Because if you look at the videotape that was on a show on TV, and supposedly there was some Maryland National Guard doing training in a air base over these mountains over on the other side of Phoenix, and they said they were dropping flares. And if you watch the video, you can see it looks like the lights are actually are blinking out, but basically they're going down behind these peaks. Okay, right. So if you watch it, you go, you know what? That I get. But on that same night, and on, I guess maybe 2 nights later, people took videotapes of stuff that are not flares. These are gigantic somethings, okay? Gigantic crafts of some kind. Now, that I believe is a secret weapon. I believe it was probably some kind of a stealth blimp or something like that. But there's definitely something, to that. Maybe back then, who knows? Maybe they were, experimented with some kind of a flying wing. They were always trying to do flying wings because they thought that there would be the most aerodynamic way to do it. And it turns out they were right, but they had to wait for the computer technology to catch up to then create the B-2 Spirit. How's that, Coco?
Very good. I not to shamelessly plug my show, but I had Dr. Lynn on my show a few years back. One of the best people that speaks about the Phoenix Lights. Mm-hmm. And I think what she saw was not flares, and I do think that was part of it. I think there was quite a bit of intentional and accidental disinformation and maybe even hoaxing that went on as part of it, but there was definitely something tangent in that situation.
Well, and they tracked it. I mean, some people track it from Palmdale up to Phoenix. Okay,
some of them, yep.
Some. Anyway, so, why don't we do this? Why don't we take a break? We'll be right back. You're listening to Mack Maloney's Mill Track South Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network.
UFOs are found in Renaissance art, on ancient coins, and etched on cave walls. They're even reported in the Bible. But more surprising is when UFOs are seen the most, in times of war. Through centuries, thousands of UFO sightings have been made by high-ranking officials, military pilots, and ordinary soldiers. Often, these fantastic appearances occur at the height of great battles. From World War I to D-Day, to Korea, Vietnam, and beyond, military investigators are baffled. Why do UFO sightings spike so drastically during wartime? Could it be mistaken aircraft, or is someone, or something, looking in on us? In UFOs in Wartime, What They Didn't Want You to Know, Mack Maloney chronicles centuries of these incredible sightings and tries to solve the puzzle of why so many UFOs are seen while humanity is at war. Read about the scare ships, the ghost planes, and the ghost rockets, alien giants in the jungles of Vietnam, UFOs controlling our ICBM bases, dogfights with flying saucers during the Gulf War, and more. 300 pages of unbelievable stories, along with many startling photographs. That's UFOs in Wartime, What They Didn't Want You to Know, by Mack Maloney. On sale at your local bookstore or on Amazon.com. Do you know where the world's most secret bases are located? Do you know what spooky action at a distance means? Is there a conspiracy by aliens to prevent us from conquering space? And where is the best place in the United States to see a real UFO? Find the answers to all these questions and more in Mack Maloney's new book, Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe. Visit places you never knew existed, the Phantom Tunnels of Tokyo, the UFO Trail in South America, Ong's Hat, and the very mysterious M Triangle. Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe contains hundreds of reports on ghosts, haunted planes and ships, weird celebrity deaths, mysterious sounds, and a breakdown of every monster in America, state by state. You've heard him talk about it on the radio. Now, get all of Mack's paranormal research in one large volume. Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe, with a foreword by the very famous Wan Wan. On sale now in your local bookstore or on Amazon.com.
To us, and they nominate their favorite segment over the past 3 or 4 months, and we replay it, okay? It sounds like a lot of fun to me. Lois, what do you think? We're wrapping up the show. A lot of laughs tonight.
A lot of laughs and a little bit of craziness. I think Bob may be visited.
Bob might be in the works here.
I think he's had a part of the show. Yeah,
he's mad at us. He used to be the engineer here, and
he's getting back at you.
He's up to hijinks. Maybe we should stop talking about him on the air. That might help.
Maybe that's his message.
Anyway, let me just remind everyone that Homes for Our Troops. Homes for Our Troops is an organization that we support here on the show all the time. They are an organization that collects money, donations, and they build houses for wounded Iraqi and Afghan war veterans, people who lost limbs and so on and so forth. They build these houses so it's easier for them to get around, lower counters, better stairs to navigate and so on and so forth. And then when they build it, they just give them the keys. They rip up the mortgage. It's all paid for. These people deserve it. Homes for Our Troops, I think they've already built about 350 houses, which is really nuts when you think of it, Lois, right?
Yeah. It's a beautiful organization, and it is, as you often say, it should be something that they don't need to exist.
Right. We shouldn't need these organizations to take care of our veterans, but the Veterans Administration is like really, really bad in this country, so we have to rely on these people and donations, okay? I know that they tell us that 88 cents of every dollar donated goes right to the veterans in their new homes. But we also had a spokesman on here a little while ago, and he said that once these people get homes, their chances of getting a job and settled and having a family and doing all that stuff, they go up like 85% or something. So, this is a way to thank our veterans for what they did to us, okay? And we avoid calling it a charity because it's our moral obligation, not to get on a soapbox, but it's our moral obligation in this country to take care of veterans. It shouldn't have to, rely on donations. But once again, it does. And if you're going to donate to anyone, donate to Homes for Our Troops, because a lot of your dollar goes right into helping these veterans. Okay, Homes for Our Troops, just Google them.
Absolutely, and click the donate button.
Also, Russ Sharp and his mad Englishman friends are putting back together a warplane from World War II called the Mosquito. It was made of wood. They put 2 Rolls-Royce engines on it, and it turned out to be the fastest thing in World War II for about 2 years. And I'm going to throw this to Lois, who's taking the place of Wan Wan. It was so fast, Lois, that
it went faster than the bullets.
Went faster than the bullets. Okay, it outran the bullets. Okay. You now have that job. Wan Wan's fired. Mm-hmm.
I'll take it.
The People's Mosquito Project. Just Google them as well. Want to remind everyone of the bag of swag. Just go to MackMaloney.com. Send us your mailing address via an email, and we will send you out a bag of swag. The bag of swag contains 3D decals of the show's logo.
Pins and bar coasters.
Bar coasters is a big item, and also little badges.
Yeah.
Your bag of swag. They're going around the world like hotcakes, as it turns out.
Yeah, around the world. That's true.
Literally around the world. Just go to MackMaloney.com, hit the contact button, send us your mailing address, and we'll get the bag of swag out to you. Okay? So I think that wraps up this kind of crazy show, Lois.
I would say that wraps it up. It's a wrap.
It's a wrap. Got anything else to say? No?
Just have a great night, everybody.
Okay, have a great night, everyone.
Glad you joined us.
Okay. And we will be talking to you soon. So until then, this is Mac for the rest of the gang saying be safe, be happy, and
bye-bye.